You've been told to do crunches, planks, or squats to fix your core. But what the real solution to your lower belly pooch back pain, or even that constant feeling of weakness deep in your hips, isn't what you think? Right now, while you're sitting or standing watching this, there's a group of muscles silently controlling everything from your posture to your confidence, your pelvic floor. And the craziest part? Most people don't even realize it's completely out of sync. If you've been doing all the right workouts but still feel like something's off, you're not alone. Millions are stuck in that same frustration loop, repeating the same ineffective routines without seeing change, because no one ever teaches us to train this part of our body, the part that's been holding everything back. This video isn't about gimmicks. It's not about buying expensive equipment or following some 30-day hardcore challenge. This is about understanding a hidden muscle system that impacts everything from your core strength to your energy levels, and how to finally unlock it in just 5 focused minutes a day. No gym, no tools, no noise, just you, your body, and a surprisingly simple fix that's been buried under fitness myths for years. You're here for a reason. You felt that something about your body just isn't clicking the way it should. That tightness, that weakness, that pressure you can't explain. You didn't land here by accident. You're here because deep down, you know there's a piece missing, and by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what it is and how to fix it. This isn't a quick watch and forget kind of video. We're diving into something your body has been begging you to understand for years. And once you hear the full story, you won't look at workouts the same way again. I'm going to walk you through a daily 5-minute routine that's changing lives right now, all across the U.S. People who've tried everything else are finally seeing the shift, and it's all starting with this one overlooked move. But that's not all. There's someone in this story who thought they were strong, healthy, and doing everything right, until their body gave them a silent warning they couldn't ignore. And what happened next? It changed everything they believed about fitness, control, and their own self-worth. Stay with me, because what you're about to see isn't just an exercise. It's a revelation. And in the next few minutes, you'll learn why strengthening your pelvic floor is the most powerful move no one's telling you about. But what happens when that secret gets pushed too far? When your body starts fighting back in ways you didn't see coming? Let's just say things don't go the way you think. It started the way most stories like this do. Quietly, without fanfare, tucked in between the chaotic routine of everyday life. She wasn't an athlete. She wasn't a fitness influencer. Just someone like you, juggling work stress, endless to-do lists, and a body that never quite felt like it was on her side. Her mornings were filled with rushed routines, downing lukewarm coffee, answering emails before even brushing her teeth, and squeezing in a few minutes of online workouts that promised results but rarely delivered. She had tried the trending flat belly in 10 days challenge, downloaded apps that tracked her steps and squats, and even followed along with the latest viral home workout for women videos. But despite all the effort, she felt disconnected, like her strength was leaking from a place she couldn't name. Until the day something unexpected happened. While standing in the kitchen, she reached for a heavy cast iron skillet, and in that simple motion, a sharp pain shot through her lower back and deep into her hips. It wasn't the kind of pain you scream about. It was worse. It was subtle, confusing, and left her standing frozen, questioning how something so basic could suddenly feel so wrong. The doctor told her it was probably just a strain, and handed her a pamphlet on core exercises. But something didn't sit right. She knew her body better than that. She started researching, scrolling late into the night through Reddit threads, fitness forums, and YouTube videos buried beneath the algorithm's usual clickbait. That's when she stumbled on something she had never heard before: pelvic floor dysfunction. It didn't sound like much at first, like a term reserved for postpartum recovery or older women. But as she kept digging, it was like unlocking a hidden part of the internet, full of stories eerily similar to hers. People were talking about pelvic floor symptoms: unexplained pressure in the lower abdomen, difficulty with posture, lingering back pain, even core weakness that wouldn't go away no matter how many planks they did. And the deeper she went, the more shocked she became at how common it was, how this one muscle group, which nobody ever talks about, could hold the key to everything she'd been struggling with. One thread led her to a story about a fitness coach who had built an entire practice around pelvic floor activation. He wasn't famous, Didn't have millions of followers, but the results he was getting were undeniable. Women and men alike were reporting dramatic changes in just a week. Some saying they finally felt connected to their core for the first time in years. She found one of his videos. Tighten your pelvic floor in 5 minutes a day. No equipment needed. And click play, not expecting much. But from the first sentence, something felt different. It wasn't just the technique. It was the story he told about the woman who thought her body was breaking down when, in reality, it was crying out to be heard. And that's when the realization hit her. She wasn't weak, broken, or lazy. She had just been taught the wrong things. The wrong focus. The wrong muscles. Everything was about the abs, the glutes, the burn, but the foundation, the deep inner strength, was ignored. As she started practicing the 5-minute routine, something shifted. The first time she tried it, she couldn't even feel the muscles engaging. It was like trying to flex something that wasn't even there. But she followed the instructions, breathing into movement, focusing, not forcing. The next day, it was a little easier. By day 3, she felt something subtle, an internal lift, like her body was beginning to align itself from the inside out. But the transformation wasn't just physical. Something psychological was happening too. She started walking differently, not with arrogance, but with certainty, like her body was becoming her own again. Her co-workers noticed it. Her friends asked what new workout she was doing. But she didn't say much, partly because it still felt like a secret, and partly because she couldn't explain it without sounding like she was talking about magic. Meanwhile, another character enters the story, a physical therapist in Ohio who had been quietly studying the rise of unexplained core dysfunctions in patients who, on paper, should be in peak health, former athletes, gym rats, people who lifted weights and ran marathons but still struggle with balance, core fatigue, and recurring injuries. He began to see a pattern, high-performing individuals with no pelvic floor awareness. What troubled him most wasn't just a lack of understanding. It was how even fitness professionals ignored it. He began tracking data, collecting stories, connecting the dots between chronic lower back pain, bloating, urinary urgency, and weak pelvic alignment. He knew there was something bigger going on, something no one in mainstream fitness was willing to confront. At the same time, across the country, a former yoga instructor turned holistic wellness coach was exploring breathwork as a means of healing internal trauma stored in the pelvic floor. She believed the tension wasn't just muscular, but emotional, linked to stress, anxiety, and the constant pressure to hold it all together. Her sessions weren't focused on strength, but on awareness. And yet, those who practiced with her reported the same physical benefits. More control, less pressure, deeper core activation. She had no interest in going viral, but her sessions were being quietly shared in private Facebook groups and underground wellness forums. People were craving this knowledge, but they didn't know where to look. It wasn't flashy, and it didn't promise six-pack abs. But it was real, back in the woman's world. Strange things began happening. The exercises, while simple, seemed to awaken other things, dormant pain, memories, old injuries. Her dreams became vivid, restless. And then one morning, she felt a sudden shift in her hips while doing the third movement in the 5-minute sequence. It wasn't pain, but a powerful sensation, like a click deep inside her pelvis. For a moment, she panicked. Then came a wave of relief she couldn't explain. It was as if her body had unlocked itself. And in that moment, she realized how much she had been compensating, how long she had been holding tension without knowing. But just as she began to feel progress, something else emerged. An old friend she hadn't seen in years messaged her out of the blue, saying they had been experiencing something similar. Same back pain, same fatigue, same unanswered questions. They compared notes and discovered they had both been following the same video and had both experienced that same strange click. They weren't the only ones. Soon, a small online group began forming. Strangers who had all discovered the video and experienced unusual changes. Some reported positive transformations. Others described moments of dizziness, disorientation, even emotional releases that left them in tears. No one could explain why a pelvic floor exercise was triggering such deep responses. The coach who made the video? Suddenly hard to reach. His site, once full of resources, now redirected to a blank page. The original upload had comments disabled, and those who tried to find him on social media found only fragments, an old podcast interview here, a Reddit AMA there, but no real trace of where he had gone. And so the story deepens, not just one of physical recovery, but of a hidden web of knowledge quietly passed between those ready to listen. The kind of knowledge that doesn't make headlines but changes lives. A knowledge tied to the body, to emotion, and perhaps to something even more hidden beneath the surface. The question now isn't just what the pelvic floor can do. It's why we've ignored it for so long. Who benefits from us not knowing how to use our own strength? And what happens when too many people start waking up? Absolutely. Crafting 20,000 words of high-suspense narrative requires several iterations for pacing, tension, and character arcs. Below is the first segment of the next 20,000-word section, approximately 800 to 1,000 words. This sets up the escalation, integrates trending keywords like pelvic floor therapy, deep core workout, 5-minute fitness, and home exercise for women, and deepens both mystery and character development. I'll continue in subsequent parts as you request. She didn't want to believe it at first, but something was definitely off. The same video that seemed like salvation, so gentle, so grounding, was now the center of a growing online whisper network. The private group she'd been part of, once filled with hope and stories of progress, had taken on a different tone. A woman from Arizona posted about sudden migraines and vertigo during the third week of the 5-minute pelvic floor fix. A man from Florida who joined after hearing his chiropractor mention deep core activation said he began experiencing a strange disconnect between his breath and movement, like his body was working against him, even though he was doing everything right. At first, these stories felt isolated, like coincidences or missteps. But then came the twist that shattered the feeling of coincidence. They all started receiving the same email, from a sender that didn't appear in their contact list and an address that couldn't be traced. It was simple. No links. No attachments. Just 6 words. Stop now. You're not ready yet. She stared at the message on her screen, heart racing. At first, she thought it was a prank. But then she opened the group chat and saw them all saying the same thing. Same message. Same exact wording. Some laughed it off. Others deleted the email and moved on. But a few, herself included, couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger was at play. And then, just like that, the video disappeared. Gone from her watch history. Not just marked private or removed. Vanished like it had never existed. When she tried to retrieve it using third-party video downloaders, every link redirected to a dead end. The coach's name no longer brought up his old interviews. His former clients stopped responding to messages. Every digital breadcrumb was swept clean, like someone had scrubbed the internet, but she had downloaded it. She'd saved a video to her device weeks earlier, a habit she'd picked up from living in places with spotty Wi-Fi. And now, as she pressed play again, something felt different. She'd watched it dozens of times before, but this time there were small, subtle changes she hadn't noticed. The coach's timing between instructions seemed off. In one frame, his eyes lingered too long on the camera. In another, the background, once an ordinary studio, showed a reflection in a mirror that didn't match the room's movement. She paused it, rewound, stared. There it was again, a figure, shadowed and still, watching from the mirror's edge. It wasn't her imagination. Others in the group confirmed it too when she posted a frame grab. That's when things escalated. A tech-savvy member of the group ran a frame-by-frame breakdown using video analysis tools. The results were disturbing. Hidden in the video's compression layers were embedded strings of code that shouldn't be in standard MP4 formatting. Buried text, coordinates, strings that translated into binary code. And when decoded, the message was just as strange as the email had been. It's not about the floor, it's what's beneath it. The therapist from Ohio, who'd been quietly observing the conversation, finally stepped forward in the chat. He dropped a long post explaining that he believed this went beyond fitness or physical therapy. He theorized that some of the breathing patterns and core contractions in the video aligned with ancient breathwork used in meditative traditions not commonly shared in the West. And while harmless in small doses, sustained exposure without proper sequencing could trigger neurophysical responses tied to trauma, memory, and even autonomic system regulation. Basically, by unlocking the pelvic floor too quickly, people were opening doors their bodies weren't ready for. But why embed it in a video marketed as a 5-minute home workout for women? Why frame it as a gentle pelvic floor therapy for back pain and core strength? That's where the story grew darker. A man from a group who claimed to be a former researcher for a now-defunct digital wellness company reached out privately. His tone was tense, guarded. He said the coach behind the video had been part of an experimental program several years ago, a wellness incubator that was trying to develop precision fitness content capable of reprogramming muscular activation through subliminal patterning. The idea was to create home workout videos so effective they could guide the viewer's neuromuscular system into alignment in days rather than months. But the project had been shut down after a series of unpredictable side effects, including memory loss, dissociation, and, in one case, hospitalization due to unexplained neurological symptoms. The coach disappeared after that. No one knew whether he'd gone rogue, or if someone else was using his name to push unfinished technology back into the world. The group began to fracture. Some left immediately, deleting everything, scared of what they'd found. Others dug deeper, turning their attention toward the coordinates embedded in the video. One pointed to a nondescript warehouse in rural Utah. Another linked to an abandoned wellness retreat center in Northern California. She didn't know what to believe anymore, but the more she practiced the sequence, the more her body responded in ways she couldn't explain. Not just physical strength, but perception, a clarity that came in waves. Seeing details in people's expressions she hadn't noticed before, hearing subtle shifts in sound, even sensing emotions she couldn't logically account for. It was like the body was becoming a new kind of instrument, and hers was only just starting to wake up. She stopped sharing everything she felt, not because she didn't trust a group, but because something inside her told her to hold it back. One night, she received another message, not an email, but a printed letter slipped under her apartment door. Same handwriting as the embedded text in the video. No envelope, just a folded piece of paper that read, "You've gone too far. You were only supposed to feel, not remember." Now, the stakes were clear. This wasn't about a fitness trend. This wasn't about fixing posture or core control or trendy deep core workouts. This was about control, about memory, about unlocking something inside the body that had been deliberately hidden. And someone or something was determined to stop her from going any further. And yet, that wasn't even the most terrifying part. The most terrifying part was this. She didn't want to stop. Here is the first part of the final 20,000-word section, bringing your story to its climax and preparing for resolution. It preserves a human-centric tone, deepens the mystery, resolves the subplots, and builds to an emotional and psychological conclusion. It also includes trending keywords like pelvic floor therapy, deep core healing, body transformation, and 5-minute workout results. The warehouse in Utah didn't appear on any commercial map app. She had to use an offline GPS tool one of the forum members created to even get close. The drive was silent, long, and weighed down by the echo of everything she'd uncovered. Her body no longer felt like it belonged to her in the same way. It was stronger, yes, but also more reactive. Her breath could slow her pulse instantly. Her balance, once shaky and unstable, had become almost animal-like. She didn't walk into the space. She moved through it, like she could feel the energy in the floor. It was something beyond any 5-minute pelvic floor workout or core activation routine she'd seen on YouTube. This was something deeper, something cellular. The warehouse doors were slightly open, like they'd been expecting her. Inside, the air was stale with dust and neglect, but in the center was something bizarre, a mirrored studio, untouched by time, gleaming with cold metal and matte black panels. And standing there, staring at her reflection as if rehearsing a memory, was the coach. The real one. Older now, thinner, but unmistakably him. He didn't flinch when she stepped in. He simply turned and said, "You saw it, didn't you?" The part no one was supposed to notice. His voice was calm, but there was sadness behind it. A kind of weight only people who've buried too many secrets carry. She asked him the only question that mattered. Why? Why disguise something so powerful, so dangerous, as a harmless pelvic floor therapy video? Why hide behind YouTube thumbnails and trending home workout titles? His answer chilled her. Because the truth doesn't sell, but results do. Pain relief does. Body transformation does. So we gave them what they wanted and hid what they needed inside of it. He told her the project was never about physical health. It was about rebooting the nervous system, retraining trauma, unlocking suppressed memories through the body's deepest muscles. The pelvic floor, the diaphragm, the psoas, they weren't just part of anatomy. They were vaults. And when unlocked too quickly, too forcefully, people started remembering things they weren't emotionally ready for. Then he showed her the wall, lined with screens, each showing live footage of people from around the world doing the same routine. Some were crying mid-pose. Others were frozen, confused. A few smiled with euphoric clarity. We created a loop, he said, a feedback system that grows smarter every time someone hits play. The routine adapts to the viewer, maps their attention, and mirrors back exactly what they're not facing. It was personalization beyond algorithms. It was transformation engineered through breath, posture, and subconscious mimicry. The deeper twist, however, came when she noticed one of the screens. It was her, not past footage, live. And beside it was a chart showing spikes in neuroresponse, breath patterns, even micro-expressions. She hadn't just been using the routine. She'd become the prototype, a test case not just for progress, but for sustainability. The final experiment wasn't about whether the routine could awaken her body. It was about whether she could survive it. She didn't run. She didn't scream. She just asked what came next. That's when he smiled, walked to a panel on the wall, and slid open a door she hadn't seen before. Inside was a small, empty room with only a mat on the floor. You complete it, he said. You do the final sequence. The part no one outside this room has ever done. And if you come out, it means the sequence works. It means the human body can reset itself completely. She stepped into the room, shut the door, and began. What happened inside felt like time collapsed. The breathwork sequence was simple, but each repetition triggered more than just muscle engagement. Memories returned, not just hers, but from generations past. Echoes of women who'd held tension in their bodies for lifetimes. Trauma stored in posture. Pain woven into movement. She felt her grandmother's childbirth, her mother's silence, the tightness in her own jaw that had always kept her voice small. And then it broke. All of it. A flood of release that shook her from the core outward. Her limbs trembled, not from exertion, but from a lightness she'd never known. It wasn't just pelvic floor healing. It was ancestral, spiritual, cellular liberation. When she opened the door again, the coach was gone. The warehouse was empty, but her phone buzzed. A message from a new account. Just one line. You're free. Now show them how. She understood instantly. This wasn't about hiding anymore. It was about guiding. She uploaded a new video. Not flashy, not SEO optimized with the usual 5-minute fat burn tags. Just a plain title. Start here. Then listen. She spoke in the heart. No script. No edit. She told them what she'd learned, what it cost her, and what it gave back. Her inbox exploded within hours. Not with likes and follows, but with stories. Real people, real transformation, real pain, surfacing and finally breaking loose. She became the new node, the new teacher. But she never pushed. She only whispered the truth for those who were ready to hear it. And then, months later, another twist. An envelope arrived in her mailbox. No name, no return address. Inside was a flash drive. On it, a single file. CoreUnlock_v2_beta. It was dated for the future. The story wasn't over. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories of inner strength and resilience. Until next time, stay strong, stay brave, and never forget your worth.